Welcome to the Northern OBX Podcast. From wild horses to small town legends, this is where stories, history, nature, and everyday life come together. Each episode is a front porch conversation with the people and places that give this stretch of North Carolina its soul. Whether you've been coming here for years or just found it on a map, pull up a chair. You're in for a good story. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Northern OBX Podcast. I'm Miles Daniels and it's a privilege today to be joined by Paul Robinson, owner and founder of Currituck BBQ located on the Northern Outer Banks mainland. Paul, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And for those watching, it's clear that we are sitting in the middle of your restaurant, obviously before lunch, because if this were during lunch, we probably would not even get a table. I'm a regular here and I know it gets busy and it smells amazing. So if you hear some noises in the background, that's your crew getting ready for lunch in the kitchen.
Yep.
For those watching, we have a beautiful plate of barbecue, coleslaw, green beans. We'll talk about all that. But before we get into, I know barbecue is arguably one of the most passionate food conversations in the South. Universally, the South is known for its barbecue. Some controversy around how barbecue is prepared, the various sauces, and I see you have a pretty healthy representation. We'll talk about all that. But let's go into the history. This is your 20th year in terms of operation. You and your father founded Currituck BBQ. So let's go back a little bit. When did you found Currituck BBQ, and what's the story there?
The story, at the time I was living in Virginia Beach, and my father, he had actually retired. He had worked at the USDA, and he had actually moved back to where he's from, which was Kansas. And at the time, this building came available, and I told him that, Pop, we've always said that if we could put your food in front of people, that we'd do okay. And I said, there's this little shack in Coin Jock that's for sale, and let's see if we can give it a go. And at the time, my mother had actually retired, and she was back in Currituck, which she's native of Currituck. And we actually had another friend that we knew from Washington, D.C. that had moved this area. And the four of us put money in and bought this place and started up Currituck BBQ.
Did you have any background, experience, history working in food, restaurants, and specifically barbecue at the time?
Not really. I had another business. When I first got out of school, I had opened a business where basically a lot of the Gold's gyms in the Hampton Roads area outsourced all of their retail and stuff like that to my company, and I managed that within the gyms. So that's what I was doing at the time, and we did have smoothie shops in those facilities. But no, this was a very questionable decision when I made it, which when you're 26 doesn't feel like a questionable decision. But now, being much wiser in my years, I understand that it was probably not very bright. Just worked out really well.
I grew up here, and we were talking off camera, I think, and don't fact check me on this, I think around the time that you opened Currituck BBQ, there might have been one other barbecue establishment on the Outer Banks whole. I know Pigman's, Bill
Right.
Shaver was around because he used to do those famous commercials featuring his exotic animals or whatnot. But you were certainly one of the pioneers of barbecue on the Outer Banks, because although northeastern or eastern North Carolina is certainly known for its barbecue, including our own variety of barbecue sauce, I don't remember the Outer Banks really being known for barbecue. It was a seafood, destination with wanchis in the commercial fishing industry, but barbecue had it.
Well, my real history and affinity to barbecue. There actually was a place called Dixie Barbecue down county when I was growing up, when I was younger, and I always enjoyed that. But my kind of the moment that I always look back to as kind of my real introduction was one of my mother's cousins, who was, certainly way older than me. They actually had a pig picking when I was probably 10 years old, and it was here in Currituck. And I always remember that, just as this kind of, great sense of community. And at the time, I got to I got to make the campfire and boil potatoes in this big iron cauldron on top of it, and chopping the barbecue and kind of doing that, and then having 100+ people show up after kind of I had gotten to spend the day with them, kind of preparing everything. And barbecue's like a community thing, and always has been. I mean, even from the early years of barbecue as a whole. And I always, to me a little bit felt like, if you can create that moment or like that type of interaction with food, that would be a really fun thing to do. And so 20 years later, this is what I do for life. But yeah.
So it sounds like you did it for fun, hobbies, friends, family. When you opened, were there family recipes? Has that evolved over the year in terms of what distinguishes your brand of barbecue from other?
Yeah, I mean, it was basically, growing up, my father was the one who could really cook. Sorry, Mom. But we kind of let him loose on kind of developing kind of what our initial offerings were. And then over time, different things evolved out of that. But yeah, I mean, the root was always kind of Dad's cooking. So, a lot of the coleslaw recipe, the sauces were actually from my cousin who did that pig picking sauce. And then, just other things that are, quintessential South, green beans with a big old piece of pig in the middle of it.
And it smells amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's how you,
sample it.
That's how you got to do it.
Yeah.
But,
well, let's talk about, across the South, regionally, different ways of preparing barbecue. And in front of us, obviously, we have various sauces. I think I recognize this one as the vinegar-based.
That's
Eastern North Carolina.
Eastern North Carolina sauce.
I think you also have your own version of barbecue sauce.
Well, we have a bunch. So we have a mustard base, which is a South Carolina barbecue sauce. We have the Eastern North Carolina vinegar base, which is the one that my cousins had tossed into the mix. The Larry's Original is a red sauce, which was what Dad used to do with ribs and chicken when we were growing up, and so that's a tomato base, more reminiscent of kind of Nashville and further west. But we have a whole bunch of different varieties that we're actually thinking about kind of dreaming up a few other ones as we kind of go forward.
What would those be? Because I know Alabama is known for, I think, a mayo base. As you said, South Carolina's mustard. I think even Western North Carolina is different than the Eastern North Carolina vinegar base, right? Like when you get west of Lexington.
It's still strongly vinegar influenced.
Or tomato.
Yeah, but there's actually ketchup that's mixed with it. So we actually have a pig picking sauce that we do here. That when we do whole hogs and stuff like that, we tend to use that sauce.
What's your most popular item? And I know. Well, let's start here. How many guests come through here in a given year, Paul? Because I know just behind us you've got this map. We'll show it to those watching, which is a map of the U.S. and you've got little pins where folks have visited from, and it looks like literally every pocket of the country folks have been to Currituck BBQ.
I mean, I wouldn't even hardly venture a guess at this point how many people really come in. I mean, a busy day for us is probably over 1,000. When we're moving during the summer, it might even be more than that. But I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of people have been here. I mean, we're cooking over 120,000 pounds of pork a year at this point.
And let's give some context, as I would imagine most of our listeners who are guests here on the Northern Outer Banks have passed by, probably stopped, had lunch, or picked up some barbecue for when they check into their vacation home. Just give our listeners some context. Where are you located? Majority of our guests are coming from the north, the northeast. Right. They're coming across the Virginia line down through the mainland before they cross the bridge to Corolla, the rest of the Northern Outer Banks. So just give some context in terms of where you're located here on the Currituck.
We're about halfway from the Virginia line to the Wright Memorial Bridge, right before the Intercoastal Waterway Bridge, right here in Coin Jock, and yeah, been good, right on the main highway.
Let's talk about the process of preparing, cooking. I assume it's low and slow with
always
barbecue.
always low and slow. We actually have a number of different smokers that we deal out of, and kind of each smoker has its own purpose, if you will. We got ones that we do our heavy meats in, which is the butts and the brisket. We have a big rotisserie smoker that we do ribs and chicken on. But it's a 225, 12-hour type job when you're doing it, and I don't know.
Is that an overnight process?
We run in the morning. No, we run it. We actually can set our smokers to do different things, and we'll actually run a 12 to 13 hour cook, and then we have a hold period of close to 8 hours before we're actually packing it off. That allows everything to kind of come together the right way. So it's usually about 18 hours from when we're putting it in to taking it out.
And then recently, Paul, next door you opened. Is it a butcher next door, or I know you're selling meats that folks can pick up and cook on their own?
So we have a meat market next door.
Okay.
We are cutting steaks and carving up primals and doing different things: chuck roast, chuck eyes, Denver steaks, rib eyes, strips, fillets, kind of all the different stuff. We're also making our own sausage, which is a lot of fun. So that was kind of our new thing. We just wanted to kind of, continue kind of what we thought we could be. And the best part of this job and this thing is being able to be creative and do different stuff. And the meat market gives us a lot of flexibility to kind of keep things new and kind of have new fun with food.
You could tell, and obviously we're by default going to be pretty passionate about Southern cooking and barbecue, but you can tell when something's made with love. And I have to say, everything that I've tried on your menu has that made with love, and it's clearly a passion. You've got Nina, who helps you in the back, and I know the two of you have recently been doing some videos that have gone kind of viral. I mean, it's
it's funny because one, I've kind of known for years that I need to play this game a little bit, and after you've been kind of, I'm going to say, out for a while, you get kind of exhausted just being the barbecue guy. But yeah, man, we've actually we've started doing these little videos, and people eat them up, and it's been a lot of fun. Nita and I, she's been with me for every bit but 2 weeks. So we literally hired her about 2 weeks after we opened. She's been she's one of my long-term work wives that I have here.
Anyone who's visited Currituck BBQ in Barco knows Nina. She's behind the counter with a smiling face, the epitome of Southern hospitality.
No, she's the personality.
Folks through the line. You have to be in a business like this.
Absolutely,
you get quite busy. And just in terms of the restaurant where we're sitting, you also have this wonderful outdoor space, so families stop by, especially in the summer when the weather's beautiful, picnic tables, etc. You have a beautiful facility here as well as the property adjacent to it. But I did want to ask you, Paul, folks probably noticed this historic building that sits on your property, and we were talking off camera a little bit about your passion for historic preservation. Initially, that wasn't on my list of things to talk about, but I love the story behind this building that folks see when they visit.
Yeah, so this is the building in the back is the Coinjock Rosenwald School. And it was actually a building that was, pretty much on its last legs. And there's a local historian, Barbara Snowden, who I had asked her about it at one point, and she kind of told me what it was. And then I became more and more fascinated. And kind of after you learn the story behind it, it became something that I, ended up not wanting to see get knocked down. So it was 10 years ago, and I apologize for that because I've been involved in so many other things in the meantime. But 10 years ago, I had it moved to our location. We put a new roof on it, put a foundation under it. We've done over time a lot of work on it. A lot of it's even on the interior, making new windows. So like there was only, I think, 7 or 8 of the original windows of that building that were still there. And after we started kind of taking it apart, we were able to determine how it was originally. So we ended up having to get new windows made by, carpenters and stuff like that. And now we're kind of gearing up and working on the outside and trying to get it tucked in at this point.
And you've done some work up in Elizabeth City, and I should mention that in addition to your location here in Currituck County, the Northern Outer Banks mainland, about a half hour from here is another location, Currituck BBQ, which opened when?
Oh, that opened during COVID. So
wow.
2020, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a nightmare. But that's worked out really well and has done good too. So
you've been doing this 20 years. You said you were 26.
26 when we bought the building, 27
building.
when we officially opened. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 years later as an entrepreneur, business owner here on the Northern Outer Banks, what's changed over the years for you?
This type of stuff, I guess, videotaping everything and social media and the kind of the parts of the business that, how we market and how we do things. We used to go to expos and these wedding expos, and I used to dress up in white overalls and just put on a tie and just make an idiot of myself and try to drum up business, which at the time was wonderful. I mean, that's kind of how our business exploded, was almost through catering. Because we'd go out and we'd go cater a wedding on the Outer Banks, and then the next day we would see everybody that we catered for, and they would stop at the restaurant on the way back out, and so that just became a snowball effect over the years. It's like, let's gun catering. Now, those expos become a little bit less of the equation, and now it's the social media and it's the videos and doing all of that sort of stuff. So I really wish that I was younger now, because I think it would be a lot more fun than me being an old guy making an idiot of myself. But at the same time, it's fun, and you can kind of see that it's neat to have somebody like Nita to play off of, and we've, like I said, that's been a good part of our marketing efforts right now. As far as the business here, production-wise, I mean, the only thing that's really changed the most is scale. How to I alwaay say, like, when we first opened, our average run was, we would run 16 butts and 2 briskets, which is like 150 pounds and maybe 35, 40 pounds. Now when we cook, we're running 500 pounds of barbecue or 500 pounds of pork and 150 to 200 pounds of brisket at a time, and we do that 4 days a week when we're rolling. So, the biggest part there has just been scaling up and learning how to, make 100 pounds of coleslaw instead of, back in the day it was just small batch, just because, the first year we were open, a busy day was $1,000, and now a busy day's 12. So it's just it's a different game, but it's still the same game.
So the volume has increased exponentially, as I think that's a reflection of the number of guests who visit
the
region.
Absolutely.
And also, it used to be a Memorial Day to Labor Day season. We've expanded that season. So you're year round, is that accurate?
We're open year round. I mean, kind of December, January, February, we probably wouldn't need to be open, but in order to keep the staff, we stay open and just lose money all winter. But I mean, as far as the shoulder seasons now, they're a massive part of our business. It's also where our catering ends up being. Most of our catering is April and May, early part of June, and then September, October, because that's when it's more reasonable for people to be on the Outer Banks and doing weddings and doing events and stuff like that.
When we talk about catering, good point. Most people think about weddings, events, etc. But if you're a large family, and most are large families or groups that rent homes on the Northern Outer Banks, this is a great place. Like I said, you can either stop on your way down or swing back over to the mainland and pick up enough food to feed the entire group, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you don't have to wait in line at restaurants, etc.
Yeah.
It's all right here.
Yeah, we have family packs that we do where people can buy bulk. We have bulk product here all the time, and that's a real easy way for people to, grab something at mainland prices and go to the beach and make a meal out of it. So yeah, works out great.
What are some highlights? I mean, again, in front of us we have the pulled pork, we have the homemade slaw, the southern green beans cooked with some bacon in there, I see. But what are some of the menu highlights for those who are listening?
That's hog jowl.
Oh, it is.
No.
I grew up in Wanchese in the 50s.
Yeah, no, I mean, you should know this stuff.
I know, right?
I mean, you're from the South. The main highlight here is always barbecue. I mean, and that's not even to say that I think it's the best thing on the menu necessarily, although, to this day, which is unbelievable, I love a barbecue sandwich as much as I love anything else. But, we do burnt ends, ribs, chicken, kind of everything. And I don't think there's anything that we make that I don't love. So, I don't have a real highlight. I think, the highlight's all of it. And one thing that we're going to really try to do kind of in years, coming up is we do want to introduce more things and kind of run more specials and just play a little bit more. I'm more in the restaurant now than I have been kind of the last few years, and I'm just enjoying that again. So that's something that we are going to start playing with a little bit more.
Don't leave out the banana pudding. That's absolutely a must when you visit Currituck BBQ. Well, let's put it this way. This is a question I sometimes ask when I'm dining in a new restaurant, not familiar with the menu. I'll often ask the waiter, waitress, if you were having your last meal on Earth and you were eating here, what would you order?
Me personally?
Sure.
My last meal, I'm probably going to barbecue sandwich with extra coleslaw and South Carolina sauce, just drenching it.
And for side?
Just because like it's been such a staple in my life for so long now that if I'm going to die, I'll go out on that. If I want to indulge, I might go burn ends or something like that. But, I might as well like stick with the thing that made me, right?
Paul Robinson, Currituck BBQ locations on the Northern Outer Banks mainland. As you're coming to or from the Northern Outer Banks, great place to stop. Also location in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Paul, great to have you here today. Thanks so much for this insightful conversation. It's been a pleasure.
All right, great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Here, wild horses roam windswept beaches, and the ocean stretches endlessly before you. Each sunrise brings a new adventure. Each breeze carries the salt and serenity of the sea. Climb our historic red brick lighthouse. Savor fresh seafood and North Carolina barbecue. This is more than a vacation. It's a place that renews your spirit and keeps calling you back. Where in the Outer Banks? Only in the Northern Outer Banks.